Sure, correct. Oh, I left my power cord at Zion on Friday. So this is my old laptop because I was sitting at the table last night going through, trying to be caught up. And my battery, my needed to plug in light came on. I'm like, oh, where's my cord?
Oh no.
Sure enough, Martin texted me a picture of it in the CC because there's CCRS. This is what we do. CCRS stuff. He showed me a trash can.
That's great.
So I'm like, yep. That's what I have to do. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. All right. So we'll be in formal on this. This is more of interactive time with all of us together. The main focus for the next, depending on how many questions and thoughts and things you guys need to know and learn about, the focus is going to be on now to the end of the year as one part, and then the summer months. What do you do? What does that look like? So that's what we're going to be focusing on for over the next half hour-ish, depending. But first of all, I want to know, in your year so far, what is your favorite highlight, if you can think of one? What is a low point of the year? I'll give you guys a chance to think, and I'll just give you mine. One of my highlights is just simply the fact that we had a exciting response to special needs Falcons sports team in St. Louis area. They actually use our gym every Monday at 7:30, and our basketball team stay after practice to assist them with basketball in the wintertime. And it's such a wonderful thing for them to experience. So the highlight of that would be we have this thing in January called Pack the Gym, where we invite all the young kids on the way back to watch the basketball game at halftime. At the boys' game, the Falcons team plays. And our basketball coach, instead of coaching at halftime, gets on the microphone as on the PA doing the play-by-play of the Falcons players out on the court. And it's such a great thing. So that's one of the highlights for the year. The low light for me this year is it's just the combination of the entire year. I feel like all I've done this year is play guidance counselor, culminating in the last week where 3 different days last week, back to back to back, 3 different kids were admitted into behavioral hospitals. One for anorexia, one for suicidal thoughts that were very specific about how and when. Another one was for just family life of, I have permission to share, sister who's older, so it's a 12-year-old boy whose sister lives on machines 24/7. It's so to a point where they can't even find in-home health care. They could not afford them to be in hospitals 24 hours a day. It's put a strain on the marriage. They're with this boy is struggling with all that, gets no attention because of their care need for his sister, even though they get on very well. She barely speaks audibly. She has a voice machine that is his voice that talks to her over the computer, and they have figured out ways to help her communicate a little bit. But it seems like he's a 7th grader now. In the 3 years I've had him in middle school, about 8 different times they admitted the sister to the hospital. I thought for sure it was going to be this time that it would be finally time for them to take her. And he's not coming, will not get out of bed in the morning now. He's refusing to do any work. And so that's been the low light for me this year. So hopefully I give you enough time to think about an idea. And again, you're welcome to share. Person that doesn't like to share, I get it. I'm not going to force them. But if you do a highlight, easier to share, hopefully usually.
I've got 2 good highlights. On a personal level, Matt, one's okay.
It's okay.
I'm one of the robotics coaches for and they mentioned one variable vision and story there. But we finally won, and after several years of putting this program together, many of those kids had started the LHA program, Charles, and Kirkland, the boys. So many of those kids circled out. Finally won this big change. So I'm excited about that. On a local personal level, on the church side, it's amazing. Some local organization decided to be one of the representatives for the for kids and people with
Night to shine.
yeah, thanks, Chuck. That's it. So that was pretty awesome.
Concordia did that for the first time this year too. I love it. Amazing experience.
It is, yeah. And there's the smiles and everything. Yeah. And, there's one I don't think I should.
Okay.
It's because
That's okay.
it's not a personal loan. I know. That's the same. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Maybe I just feel like me on a personal level that I feel like I'm running around a lot and not maybe I personally don't feel like I'm doing as much as I feel like I should.
We'll be talking about some of that in a
That
moment.
might never change. Yeah, I think that's a constant, no matter how much you're in the profession. Never enough time. You're always.
Yeah.
Me personally, how I relate that to you, but sort of, I struggled sometimes the most at being a dad because I felt like I had way too much patience in school and then used it all by the time I got home.
Yeah.
And
That's
unfortunately,
that one. That's that one. Yeah.
so
Good to hear you say that. Not long.
So I guess the highlight, actually for myself, happened last me and the other brand teachers, we were charging of the school musical. And so going into it, we were like, well, why did you put the two brand new people in charge? Like,
because you're the brand new people.
right? And so we're like, okay, well, I have a theater experience, and the other lady had the musical, like, music and whatever. And so last Thursday, we had our first performance, had the performance or whatever, and it went so incredibly well. And just seeing them go from in the beginning, the boys were like, to like opening night, they were just doing it and like smiling and like having a good time. It was really cool to see like the culmination of everything. And I would say my like challenge is, so I teach combination classes, and I think that that's been its own separate thing where, at any time I have a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old in the same room, and so they didn't really teach us about teaching those type of classrooms for everything so mixed. And so I have often struggled with just like, how do I reach all of them in the different dynamics that they're in, and like the different developments that they have, because mentality is so different between any of those ages, 5th, 6th, or 7th grader. And figuring out, like, I have a 5th grader who got upset at the 7th grade girls for picking on another 7th grade boy. They weren't actually picking on him, they were flirting. But the 5th grader saw it as like, they're really rude to my friend, I need to stand up for him. And so I guess that's been my like hardship with all of that.
You don't have to.
I guess highlight was this year I really extended, and then I got the niece that I got to. The low point was trying to juggle school with like going to the baptism for that, and that was just a very tough weekend trying to get all the sub plans together. It was the end of the grading period, so like 40 papers and 60 tests and travel. The other one.
And it's funny how it always seems to be the case. You go through this period of nothing and everything at one time. So the next part of this is real simple. Just something that you, if you haven't already done, it might be worth your while to keep a journal of fun things that kids do or say if you haven't already started. We had a great one about 3 weeks ago. It was a really windy day, and actually we did lose power in our school building. The entire downtown Kirkwood area was out and everything. And we got on our walkie-talkies, and Mr. Heber, our science teacher, says, "Hey, just so you know, the drinking fountains are not operating right now." One of the 5th grade girls, "That explains why the Wi-Fi is down." Really? Okay, yes. And another one for me was I teach 5th grade science as well. The test was we were on mixtures and solutions, and one of the questions on the review was to list 3 solutions, 3 mixtures. I know her parents very well, so I just laughed hysterically. You know, parents right away. Her mixtures and solutions were gin and tonic, vodka tonic. I couldn't count them wrong.
Wait a minute. That's somebody that didn't make the home visit.
Yes, absolutely. Oh gosh, yes, because they're the ones that are giving those Christmas presents to the teachers. Absolutely. So, just something to consider doing as you go through. I will never forget back to Guardian Dearborn about 20 years ago. I have no idea how the subject came up anymore, but it was the 7th grade teacher's daughter in middle of history class one time. And I said something about boats somehow. And his daughter just says to me, 8th grader, straight face, "Miss Hartman," and it was like March. I said, "I just don't get it. How do they have the boat show in the middle of February when the ice is frozen?" Did you ever happen to know Eric Hines? Okay. It was his daughter. Anyway, so just don't lose sight of those good times, those fun things. Have them to refer to. This is just shown here because it's after lunch, and I do this on purpose for this slide because you sometimes might don't feel like you're going through a thankless calling. It is a blessing beyond belief. The more you go through it, the more you realize how blessed you are, and what you're doing is essential and crucial. But yet, sometimes I am a sports nut. And I will even admit that our world's perspectives are skewed. So this is kind of a parody of that, but it's for you also to remember you're doing important stuff. This is called Teacher Center, not Sports Center. So enjoy. Thought I had that better than really done. Of course, last night on my new computer, it worked just fine, and I forgot to check this morning on my old computer.
Teaching Center is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hello and welcome to Teaching Center. I'm Boyd Maxwell with today's top stories from the exciting world of teaching. I'm Perry Schmidt. Well, now we know the long-awaited announcement by star English teacher Ruby Ruth has sent teaching fans across the nation into a frenzy.
I've enjoyed my time in Ohio very much, but I'm pleased to announce that I'm taking my talents back to New York City. Thank you very much.
Apparently, PS 431 has made Ruby an offer she couldn't refuse. $80 million guaranteed over 6 years, with another $40 million in incentives based on test scores. His salary puts her right up there with Rockridge Elementary's Katie Hope and William Wu out of Colgate Magnet. All right, let's take a look at yesterday's high school teacher job from Radio City Music Hall, where Central Rapids High, recipient of the worst test scores last semester, made the first pick. That was no surprise to anyone. The first pick, Central Rapids High takes calculus teacher Mike Yost from Tulsa Teachers College. Just like that, you're a millionaire. Mike Yost is an unbelievable story. His father lived from paycheck to paycheck as a humble pro football player. Kid was a natural magnet. You know he's gonna buy his mama a house, so you know this. So there's no way around that. You owe your mama. Today's highlight of the day is brought to you by the 100% Black Angus Beef Thick Burger on a fresh baked bun from Carl's Jr. and Hardee's. Now it's time for the highlight of the day. Star history teacher Ashley Ferguson has been running up them test scores over at Vince Corpo High. Okay. Woo!
Confederate forces fired first. Can anyone tell me where this battle took place?
Now, look at this. She looks left, then right, looks past the students with their arms up in the air, spots Max near the back, sees that even though his hand isn't up, he's engaged.
Max?
It was Fort Sumter.
That's right.
Oh, come on. See what she did there? She's bringing an introvert into the discussion, y'all. That's a Teacher of the Year play right there. That's right, Boyd. You know, the confidence gained by Max by answering that question correctly will enhance his performance throughout the rest of the year, no doubt. Coming up after the break, Mayfield Prep trades French teacher Janine Lowe to Skyline High for a head librarian and 2 lunch ladies to be named later. And we'll get the inside scoop on the impending teacher strike that could cripple the season. Next up on Teaching Set.
Just something to bring a little joy. What's that? I know, all the SAT scores, etc. Yeah, I was going to point that out, but yeah, there is one that they create that I couldn't show at this because they probably get fired. If you're bored sometime and want to look up Key and Peele substitute teacher,
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
it is priceless. Yeah.
I'd have to have a restroom break when you play that one.
In all seriousness, though, we realize it's not always an easy position that you have. But make sure that you cherish it. Make sure that you have some fun and create some nonsense times, because it will bring sanity to it. So, and the school year is coming. Ours, honestly, I don't even know what our last date is. I know it's the Friday before Memorial Weekend, but whatever date it is, I couldn't tell you. There's too many things to think about going on. This is that time of year where everything is happening. You've got graduations, 8th grade graduations, high school graduations. You've got the end of the year concerts. You've got musicals. You have everything wrapping up. You've got to get all your grades and stuff done. You have award shows, whatever it looks like. On and on and on. So with that, it's about 7 weeks left. What are you the most frightened about, most excited about? What questions do you have? I have a bunch of things up here, but I would ask you.
I think the thing that like kind of frightens me a little is this week is testing. And so like trying to get out of this stigma of like my test scores being teacher, you know, but like also portraying to them that like I have some goals that are so anxiety and affectionate. I'm just telling them like this is just for high school and they just want to know where to place whatever, but trying to convey the message to them in a confident way. It's just a test, and like, don't freak out.
You said yours is this week.
Yeah.
Ours is next. You are this week also, right? When are you this week?
No, we don't.
You have, I'll go through some things and maybe that'll jar some questions right now. I would highly encourage you to just take a look at your calendar if you haven't already done so. How much time do I have? What important things do I still think I want to get accomplished? What are the most important topics to be covered? The most crucial avenues to make the last final inroads or connections with my children? What needs to be done? There's one last thing, but I still want to get accomplished. They don't have that. So what I'm going to stop after the first 4 bullets. By all means, make sure that you ask people in your building. So what should I expect with new year? What is needed of me? I would have to say probably most schools have some kind of a checklist or an unwritten expectation. Here's all things that you need to get done before you head out on summer. In our case, I usually have the mentor teacher assigned with the mentee. Make sure you help them walk through. This is what we do with the book forms, the inventory. This is where how you submit what we need for next year. This is when the grades are due. This is all the processes of getting a classroom set for the summer. So ask people in the building, what does that look like here? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? You guys, have you guys already started talking about that at all with people in the building or principal or?
About like the grades. You know, there's meetings after school. You have days on the building, but other than
What's that?
At least there, I know we have a checklist.
Okay. Kara, do you already have your times and meetings and stuff already pretty much set up for the teachers and they know when it is?
Pretty much, usually 2 days. For us, it's not a graduation, I can graduate early, we have finals. Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Glad they have all the checklist stuff. Royce earlier asked me if I have a checklist. She's been along with school. But the biggest checklist they have to check is meeting. They have them already. A lot of times we get it done in the last couple of weeks. So that's because you want to know what your summer plans are as well as if your career plans. Sometimes people think, probably not come back for whatever reason. Else may have a job. You like to know those things early as you can. But that's the biggest checklist they have to do. So that I get that snapshot of I'm doing this is my section. Kind of where they're going. What they need to try to accomplish it. So.
We do the same. We start with, I meet with every teacher right after those meetings so that we can start, so that God willing, I can assist them in what are their goals over the summer months to help prepare for these goals, not many, not a ton. Short, simple. Perhaps take a picture of the way your classroom was when you left it. Maybe you wanted to stay that way, or maybe you use it to say, oh, I'm not ever going to have my room set up this way again. Just a sample. Don't have to stick with this. It's just my ideas I was thinking of. Last week of school, perhaps even the last couple of weeks of school. Most important time for engagement. I was very blessed to have a mentor who told me way back a long time ago, you know what, it's okay if the last week of school, if you don't just stick with reading out of the textbook or doing the normal lessons, create some project-based things, make it all project-oriented because they will do it. And you will still keep them engaged and you won't have to worry about as many papers to turn in, as many papers right now. Granted, writing is a little bit different, but just something to think about. How can you tweak a lesson that is more of student doing the work that they can either collaboratively or individually can you can watch back the progress with them, and keep them engaged so that when that last bit of time comes, they're not already tuned out. It's just something to think about. other things we mentioned when the report comes in, you already know that. Notes to students, inventories, leaving the classroom for summer, what are the requirements for summer? So what are your requirements for summer? As your principal is talking about, what is the expectation at Zion on the summer months? Are you supposed to be there for 4 weeks of the summer? Are you just off for good? Or how does it look at? Have those conversations. Ask them, what do you expect of me? So you have a clear understanding. What do you do with your grade book? You guys use Sycamore. Is your grade book in Sycamore? Red Web, that's what it was. I was going, my head was going back and forth between the two. Right? Is there anything you have to do with, what's that word when you archiving? Is that up to you? Is that up to your office? What about cumulative records? How does that look? Is it up to you, the teacher, to put the stuff into their files? Does the administrative assistant do that? What kind of questions to ask? I personally believe, for your own sake, if you don't have a group picture that you keep in your scrapbook over the years. One of the hardest things for me is remembering names of kids 25 years ago that I taught, and I'm like, you see them, I'm like, hi. It's never been a strength of mine to start with, and you better have it. Group pictures are really important. Something that is very time consuming, but will be worth more than you ever realize is that second one of the notes to students. It is, if you can find time to do it, you highly, highly, highly recommend it. They will keep it forever. They will not lose it. You can make it however you want. And I put Bobby up here just because it's one of my favorite moments ever as a teacher, and it was 15 years ago. So I made a point as 8th grade homeroom teacher at the end of the year to write notes to every one of my students. And back in the day, it was still AAL before it was thriving, because they would always hand out notepads at the teacher conferences. I would always take them because it was like the perfect size to make some notes on. And I would put various things that I loved about them, things I remember about them throughout my teaching with them. And it was also like a quote or two or in a Bible verse that attached with it that would make me think of them or something for them for the future. Like, as you go out, these are the gifts you have. What are you going to do with it? How will you use them? And I try to make it encouraging and fun. And so Bobby, as an 8th grader, was not expected to live past 2. He was born with heart conditions, was in the hospital until he was 2, had 6 heart surgeries before he was 2. He was in my class as an 8th grader. He was 15 and a half when he graduated in 8th grade. Because he missed a whole year of 2nd grade and half a year otherwise. He did the same thing just like he did everybody else. 4 months later, he was doing driver's training and passed away. And 4 months into his freshman year of high school. And so the reason it's my favorite moment is because at the funeral, they have the picture boards of the family and everything. In the middle of one of those picture boards was that note that I wrote. And I never did it for that reason. But I didn't even realize how much it would mean to the family alone to him. So if you can do it, I highly recommend it. If you have the time, it will be wonderful. So now, enough of this happy stuff. More of these things I've written up here that made you think of something else you might have a question about. Well, no, actually, this was meant for you. Oh, well, you know you could. Leave in classrooms and say, hey, hope you guys have a great summer. It's been a great year. General email of families. Line copying everybody. I really enjoyed teaching Gerber. Here's a last hurrah picture of the whole class. This is what they look like now. Maybe 5 years from now, I'll go back to it and see what they look like. I actually was thinking more lines up for you to keep in a scrapbook than over the years of teaching. think back to that class, some of the joys and highlights, the memories that it will trigger.
I think both are important. Like, one, it's hard to do in high school, but especially elementary school, you take a picture of the class. It's kind of fun to keep those in your classroom, and especially when parents come in from the house, or back to school night, or enrollment, and they come and they walk in your classroom and they see all these photos up. That's a good impression, and it's fun for you to kind of look back as you start going through the years, seeing the students that you taught, what's going on. And I also, for enrollment purposes, or just goodwill with parents and students love it, if you can send that picture home and you can get it printed off on the place that prints.
Vistaprint?
Vistaprint, you can get it really cheap on Vistaprint. And you can just, mail it out or send it back, or even like even email. Parents love to get stuff from the school, and at the end of the year, they really love that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And the same thing in high school, the students still love that kind of stuff, even though they may not say that. They still love it. And they like to get little notes or all the kids together at lunchtime or something like that.
Just the time of that. So I am not the smartest principal in the state of Missouri. I'm the wisest principal in the state of Missouri. Doctor. Still over here, he intimidates me still. I had him as a teacher in high school when he was first starting out. He intimidated me then, and he still does. And that's a good intimidation, not
When did you graduate?
85.
Started in 78. It wasn't my first career. I was well into my career.
I'm sorry, I was not meaning that to come across. I did not mean that negatively by any means. Because when you said earlier, 41 years of experience, wow. I was that teacher at the teacher conferences in October that first year. I'm like, 25 years, 30 years. You got to do this 30 years. Now I'm at 28, and they're like, what happened? I used to be the one to make fun of that. But I am all about relationships. I always have been and always will. And I think you will go a long way in your teaching years if you build the relationships, because parents are willing to give you that grace if you know their kid and they know how kids' best interest at heart. So I took liberties with that when I was 8th grade graduation night. We would do the graduation service, and we would congregate in the gym, and we would have the 8th graders on tables for the celebration, and I would put the note at each person's spot, and then I would roast them. And I didn't ask the principal's permission the first time, but then it became a thing because for the next year, I'd always have the 7th graders come in and say, so what's mine doing? And I would spend hours at the dollar store just combing the aisles up and down for something that reminded me of that student. And then I would tell a story to the families out there about them and give them that gift, and it was great. Way too long, but it builds the relationship. So it just shows that the parents know that you care about the kid. That's what they want. They want a good education. Yes, they want the kids to be safe. They want God. But as the end of the year comes, getting into a lot of things happening, just don't ever lose sight of this verse. This is a good verse at any point in time, whether not even for school, honestly. It's not my words. Be still and know that I am God. Maybe this is not a good best verse for you. What is your go-to verse? Do you have a verse that is one of those that help you take a deep breath or help you to get focused again? All right, I can do this. I can handle this. I can get after it now. Have a verse. Nobody even needs to know. I chose this one because a former pastor of mine would always do it, and he would start off his meeting with teachers, and it would be, everybody would read this out loud together. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And then he would have us repeat it again. But this time, he would say it slower. Be still. Just doing that helps you internally. Just kind of take a calming breath. Okay? So, what's your go-to? This is the, I'm not going to get into that right now. But you know that. All right. Summer thoughts. Before I get into summer months, anything other questions about wrapping up?
I guess another thing advantage that we have in our public school understand that you can't go in during the summer, whereas I know you can. So the classroom may be less people something like that. So you can work the whole summer, right?
There are some places that will have it in their employee handbook where you'll see technically they can bring you in at the summer. That's part of the school, part of the group. You call, and, hey, now even though there are no students here, we could see that great. Public school union rules are you can't show up in the summertime, you have summer days, once that's up, it's up.
You probably have something, depends on how you pay, if you're by your church, school, whatever, but if you're on 10, 12, they cite you a salary and you pay. I've asked, I don't know, what you guys are associated, but I asked the principal today, what's your starting salary? 32. I said, that's pretty good, that's not bad. I said, well, I was always hearing salary more. Well, we started at 10, 12. Well, then that's your starting salary. It's 27.5, not 32. Don't lie to people. Well, we don't expect, now there's the catch. It's 10, 12. We don't expect them to be here. So that's something that it's important to know. Not that you like would protest or not go in if you want to, but all right, they're telling me that maybe I can get a job for 2 months and keep my mind off education if I want, because they're telling me. On ours, we say it's a development kind. So if I need you in the summer, I call you, say, hey, I need you, we're going to have to form a committee, we're doing it. It's not going to be the same kind of work, you know what I mean? But I make that clear to my people that it's 12 months. But we need you to refresh. We need you to go grad school. We need you to do whatever you need to do. But if we have some needs, like accreditation, we have to get done. So we had meetings, we expect people to show up too. And again, the work day is different. But make sure you know that. That's important. I think share with this too, Alvin. You're at 10, 12, man. You better be letting those people breathe.
Ours is 12 months. So we say that out of those 8 weeks of the summer, we expect 4 weeks that you're doing something. Doesn't have to be in the building, but just show me, prove to me what you're doing. Keep helping VBS for a week. That's one of them. Perfect. You know, those are things. It could be. It's an option, right? So, good point. Bring that up. I think one of the most important things for you to do is debrief, unwind, spend some time this summer. I'm going to let Dr. Stell talk a little bit more about some more in-depth personal things with summer, but make sure that you, I hate to say this, I don't ever want to sound selfish, but take some time for yourself, by all means. What I mean by that is, you don't have a lot of time during the school year to go deeper sometimes into your personal Bible study. Not a lot of time left over for walking on the treadmill at the end of the day. Because usually, like most of the teachers, I'll get to that later, and then later happens, you're like, nope, can't do it now. Whatever that looks like for you, find time over the summer to replenish yourself. If that's with your family, excellent. If that's something that you purposely do, excellent. Not suggesting this for everyone, but Pastor Paul Moltenhauer in St. Matthew, Ward Lake, Michigan, he would spend a weekend. He would get in his car, take a case of water, a notebook, and a Bible, and that was it. Sometimes he wouldn't even tell his wife where he was going. He never told anyone at the church where he was going. And he would find a hotel and go spend the weekend there. He would read and journal and think and pray and fast. It was just amazing, the stories he told me about what he came back with after that a weekend of doing That's mildly an extreme thing, but he is one of the most spiritual persons I've ever known. But it's something for you. What does sharpening your saw look like? Is it reading a Harry Potter book or getting back into reading that you didn't get to do during the school year? Is it playing basketball with the kids in the driveway, or I don't know. But make sure you spend some time. Maybe as you all year long you're wanting to make your lessons better or get into a Twitter chat, which I know are not as much of a thing now as they once were. But Facebook Live things are a little bit bigger now. But what is that going to be? Find time for yourself. It is really important. One of the things that Spell told you back in the fall, or at least I did after, is a big concern for the three of us, for all of our teachers, is burnout. We don't want you to be burned out. This is a good time to replenish. You can stop me anytime if you want to ask questions, if you want to know more. Tell me. Just so over the summer months, it might be a good time to find your staff. Actually, another thing that might happen for you is your leader might have already picked out a book that your staff is going to do. If not, then we handed out the book in the mindset last fall, right now. I finally got a chance to read that this year, even though I was in this program for 2 years now. It's an amazing book, honestly. I love it. Actually, our staff is going to read it this summer. So Brittany and I are ahead of the game, actually. She couldn't get the testing stuff. Spiritual book, Facing the Giants of Max Lucado, was my top 3 list all the time. Easy read. I am not a good reader, which is why Carrie intimidated me, because he taught reading and writing. I was not, as you can tell from my presentation, I'm not. There's a reason I never taught grammar. I can read and I can't write. I can talk and not stop talking, but what resources are you going to go to maybe to help you out? There's some good things out there. I would encourage you this summer not to spend a ton of time worrying about little classroom things. Spend more time on setting up next year. Now you've been through it. The best thing I ever did was I had a folder just for the first day of the school year, and then a second folder for the first week of the school year. Very long, but I mean, it's old, but just having procedures and things established were good to have. But going through that first day was the most important day of the year. That first week, the most important week of the year. Well, you've been through it, maybe take some time to put everything down in your folder, so to speak, your Google Drive folder. What is important? Important things to start next year strong, your second year. Something to focus on. The other thing I love to do in the summertime is take one of my lessons that was okay. How do I make it less of me leading and more student engagement, more project-based, more interactive for kids? Or is there a parent I know that has a career that I can bring them in, or we can do a Skype interview with someone around the world, or is there another school in the country that I can connect with and we can do some kind of a challenge with it? Maybe take, if you have time, one lesson from each unit you teach, or one quarter, and figure out how to make that a better lesson.
And
you, go ahead.
well, I'm just thinking back to Ruth's comment. One of the things that we always had our teachers do is to develop a lesson if you're going to be gone in an emergency or you had something come up like that. Do a couple standalone lesson plans for substitute. They could be out of the ordinary, they could be whatever, and have those. And do that every year in the summertime. And develop 5 or 6 of those on their own, so you don't have to have all the hustle. And God, or emergency does come up, you don't have to worry about, oh no, I have to write a lesson plan, but I've got to concentrate on this stuff over there. What am I going to do? Give them a study all the time.
to do that. Good thought. I forgot because that's what I'm doing today. I have a folder of nothing but standardized test practice, different things, 4 days of the year that I know I'm usually gone for sure for a sub that is easy for them to handle, that they can use. That's 4 different days of the year that I do that. I don't ever do it with them while I'm here. Sometimes I'll wrap up when I get back, but that's maybe something we can look at as well. Another thing that was beneficial for me was to spend time to recap the year. If I'm teaching 5th grade science, as I went through the year, did I cover what I wanted to cover? What's my framework? How am I going to adjust my framework? I always start with an overall framework. That's all the objectives to cover for quarter 1, quarter 2 standards, quarter 3, 4. I need all those. How do we need to tweak that? What can they add here or there? The bigger picture things is maybe what I would suggest focusing on when it comes to school. But again, not every day. One of the things I'm going to be a principal is once in a while I'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to sit on my deck and work my computer on my deck instead of in the office. I do that once in a while. It's enjoyable. I don't do that very often because I am ADHD adult and kid, and I see something shiny at home, and the next thing you know, I'm petting the dogs and playing with weeds in the yard. I'm supposed to be working, so it doesn't work well for me usually, but I get better at it. What else? I think that was a bit everything. Gary, you were going to talk more about some things related to summer, so maybe this is where I turn it over to you.
Yeah. Hey, we're using the restroom real quick for the last stop, but I'll use the opportunity to take 5, and I think Royce is going to head out.
And I'm supposed to be helping with the testing.
This is for Royce. That happens with Royce.
Oh, here, you want me to pull up the website?
Yeah, just pull.
So you want this for that?
You get that up. Put that in here.
Sound?
No sound?
Something you're afraid asking to do.
All right, thanks, Royce. I'll make a plug then too for the underutilized, and I do a horrible job of trying to put anything on there. You guys are gonna have to pay like a quarter now. We have the Facebook page that we can utilize. Justify $1 million spent on that. There you go. So $1 million we're gonna spend soon on our new pages.
I want to thank Royce for his commentary. I brought up my website because I'm talking to Al about what can we bring to this. You know, we're talking to new teachers, and it's theoretically new teachers are going to watch this down the road, or the ones that weren't here. Good luck with that. We'll see. But what I want to challenge you with is a little bit of homework, and so something we'll do in here, but something I want you to refine on your own. It's a task I went through on a number of occasions. Typically, wasn't during my first couple of years, and it maybe it should have been. I've always been kind of categorized, unfortunately, like Royce said, but I've always been kind of categorized as a real competitive person and someone who's type A, someone who's driven. You don't know those things when you're younger, you just are reacting to life, I guess. But I remember I went to Brazil with a colleague of Al and mine, and told me down there, and we were just playing tennis, we were playing a little basketball, we were teaching grad classes to at Wilbur University, to doctoral students. And he just said to me one day, he says, "You're the most competitive person I've ever met." Huh? I thought we were just having fun. We were just kept messing around, having a beer here and there and stuff. You're the most competitive person. Now I understand why you're running that high school. Why they picked you. I'm like, and it kind of scared me. Like, do I really come off that way? Do I always have to come off that way? But anyway, I want you to write down right now, before I show you ours, and I'll tell you what I think ours is what's your mission statement
preschool. And if you know it, I'm very proud. I'll be very proud of your administrators at your school.
Every month in seven, though.
That's good. That's good. You should be doing it as often as possible. So a mission statement is sort of what's the purpose of your school? Why does your school exist? You guys just went through accreditation, and I know we're heavily involved in accreditation. You run into a lot of these statements, but they should be short, should be pretty tight, should be something that you can grab onto and say, yes, that's who we are. And I really identify with that. I think the Lutheran High School in Kansas City is something like to provide a Christ-centered environment for education. I'm not sure the exact word is, preparing lives for today, tomorrow, and eternity. And I'm pretty much hoping that better be on our front page of our website. It's not there. This is our website, which of course my marketing people tell me is no good. And part of it because probably my picture's there. And they tell me I write too much. And I tell them they're wrong, but that's okay. They say you write well, but you write too much. But it's down here. It is a Lutheran High School. Kansas City provides a Christ-centered environment, preparing lives for today, tomorrow, and eternity. And that's kind of our catchphrase too. We, on every card, every sign in the building, preparing lives for today, tomorrow, and eternity. Okay, and we've got to drill that home. And I think all my faculty would say that. Now, when I got there, it was probably about 3 sentences and had every word under the sun. Because when you get together and try to formulate these things, everybody wants to put their 2 cents in. Let's just keep it to that tag. We have one of the best taglines I've ever seen. I didn't create it, but I'm like, we got to include that in our mission statement because that's what we do. That's what we do. We're preparing kids for today, tomorrow, eternity, right? Hey, all right, that's what a good high school will do. A Christian high school, doing it in a Christian environment. So you guys have it? What's Calvary's? That's right, because I was on the accreditation team and I do remember that one. Okay, that's interesting. Yes.
Sharing Christ's love centered God's word.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember. I should know.
It's okay.
I know it's shared one. I don't remember mine either. I'm
The principal doesn't know his.
And I explained that to them earlier. We focus more on the vision and the core values that are from everybody knows that.
Okay. So do you know your vision statement for your school? And by the way, if you're a church school, which most of you are, except for maybe CCL or that acronym, they have a bunch of churches, but typically your church has a mission statement for itself and a vision statement for itself, and the school probably has its separate mission statement, which is, and its own vision statement as well. Now, vision statement tends to say what you want to become, what you're heading toward. Your mission statement should say what you're doing now. This is what I'm doing. Okay. So, can you take a second or do you know that one? Do you know you have one?
I know we have
Okay.
one, I don't know what it is, but there's also a kind of
Yeah, and ours is kind of. I'm gonna jump to that real quick here and see if we can see it. It's not on the front page, trust me, and it's not one I'm happy with either because my consultant wrote it and it's kind of like too much. Oh, maybe about us. Maybe. Strategic. It's going to be in the strategic plan somewhere. We're going to try to get to that, and then you'll see it's a little bit different. You can guess where we might be going with this. Okay. Just going to move down to, there's our vision statement. Renowned for its Christian values, superior academics, and positive atmosphere, the Lutheran High School in Kansas City will be the preferred choice for those seeking a comprehensive high school experience. Whoa. So basically, that's trying to say that we are trying to get a bigger niche of the market in the Kansas City area. We want to be known for what we stand for, Christian values, academics, positive atmosphere, and then those people who are looking for that kind of Christian education will be at least looking at the Lutheran High School in Kansas City. Living right now, they probably don't. So that's something that we put out there as a strategic plan. That's where we want to go. That's where we want to become. here's what I'm gonna ask you to do today. And I'll share with you some of what mine would be today, and then I'll share with you what mine was maybe 35 years ago. What's your personal / professional mission statement for you today? In other words, someone says, write a mission statement for yourself. Why do you do what you do? You know why Calvary does what it does, a partner in the family. But that may not be what your goal is. You may be more, I don't know. I'll just share mine. I would say mine was then, probably still is now, although I'm a little different role. To serve God as a teacher / coach with my skills and abilities He has given me. Okay? That might have been what I written when I was 22 years old. Or to share the gospel with those I teach and coach. That might have been my, why do you do what you do? That's why. So if you could come up with just a personal mission statement, succinct, tight, why do you do what you do? So, I was interviewing a girl for a position at our place a couple of weeks ago, and she's moving to the area. She's getting married to someone in our community, and she's a Lutheran high school teacher up in the Wisconsin area. And then she was coming to town. I said, hey, we got to talk. You still want to serve at Lutheran high school? She said, absolutely. And I said, well, you don't have too many choices in Kansas City. You don't want. And I said, do you want to be part of our staff? She said, yes. And I said, I'm hiring you probably a year early because I don't have the opening on my staff, but I want quality people. It's tougher to get to now if you're training kids these days. And I said, because I don't want to lose you to a grade school. I live in grade school, and I don't want to lose you to a public high school. And she looked at me and said, oh, you'll never have to worry about that. I'm going to teach you folks. And what she did in that moment was told me a little bit about her personal mission statement. I understand what she does. It's not about money. It's not about benefits. It's about she's got a personal ministry that's important to her. She didn't say, oh, I'd never teach a Lutheran grade. She said I would never teach a public school because I have a calling to my Lord. That, okay, I'm sure I was there. I'm sure I'm still there. That it wasn't about money or the status or anything else. It was about. But noticing my first one, I didn't include coaching because that was huge. It's why I got into the profession. I wanted to coach. That's it. I wasn't sure I wanted to teach. I wanted to coach, and I wanted to do it in a Lutheran setting. I always felt that I wanted to do it in a Christian environment. I'm not so sure I was as that good at sharing my faith necessarily in the early years. I was just to bring back those memories. Gosh, who knows what people thought of me at the time? It's going to be kind of funny. But if you don't mind, could you share yours? I mean, if it's too personal, then don't share. But if it's not, it might be something we can all kind of learn from. I was talking to those two gentlemen. I said, I think even if we'd all put ours down today where we are today, they'd be similar. We'd all have similar, because I know these guys and why they do what they do. It's out of love of the Lord, love of the gospel, love students and families we meet, and so on and so forth. So the gospel change lives, so on. But anyone want to share? Okay. And then outreach. Ruth?
Kind of people I have to share that they're not random creatures of all by chance. I think that's incredibly important when you have kids with such a level of depression with the purpose in mind.
And how was I made?
Yeah.
Because maybe God made a mistake and I'm really this and not that. Yeah, we see a lot of that these days. Yeah. Especially she's a science teacher, so that makes sense.
It's still not this week, but basically to educate, inspire, and grow children spiritually.
Okay. Those are all good. I think we could all see a part of us, and each one of them like, yeah, I think you got to put that. Right. And you can refine it and always look at it and know that if that's not it, if you look at it someday and go, oh, I don't care about this anymore. Maybe you don't need something else. maybe that inspiration is no longer with you. And it's something to think about. All right, but I want to move on. So now there's two other levels of this that I want you to consider today. And this has to do with his summer development kind of stuff down the road. What about professional development as an educator? You guys are in your first or second year, you're right there, early on. What kind of vision statement do you have for yourself and your career? Now, I'm just talking, I'm talking short term or shorter term. In other words, how are you, and this may be my competitive side coming on, how are you planning to get better in the profession? I think all of us in the first couple of years of teaching, we're like, better get easier. I better get more efficient. I heard that already today about my low life. I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I'm not getting as much done as I want to get done, but if you're working hard, I'm going to tell you that you'll find the rhythm. You got a captive audience over here. But so, you got double weight. There you go. So, see if you can put that down. I'll tell you what I put mine down. This was early on too, because I said I wanted to earn a master's degree and try and become a better teacher for my students. And I said, I don't know, I have a Christian element in here at all, but when I first came out, my first year, I was like, whoa. I didn't start in my first year. I started that first summer, though. I'm like, I don't know. I was throwing a bunch of stuff there, teaching this and half the stuff I never saw before. Okay, my background needs to get so I got an English. I felt I was teaching all English. I needed more help in English to feel confident. And I will say, going through the program. But that was a personal goal of mine. I wanted to get the master's degree, and I didn't write this in my statement before I had kids. I have kids to worry about third year of marriage. So I was like, if I can get this done before it might make it a little easier. And it didn't happen. But that was a vision statement sort of myself. And again, I wasn't asked to do this, but I know in my head I was like, I need to get a master's degree. And I don't even think anyone was pushing me toward it or anything, but I looked into, the school, many of your schools might provide some aid or some benefit for that, as far as maybe not funding it, but maybe it funds itself because you could have paid. Typically, pay increase doesn't fund a master's degree for about 10 years. You got no help at all. That increase probably wouldn't. And today, grad school, I hate to tell you, it's more expensive than it's ever been. But just right, and it doesn't have to have to do with the graduate school. It could have something else. But what plans do you have for yourself to that group? Now, Royce gave you a lot of stuff and gave you good advice about, take a deep breath, relax, check your family, some friends, all that kind of stuff. And I think he's right. But I'm also going to say I don't think it makes you a better teacher. I'm saying for a while. But is that making you better? Here's my question to challenge you is, so let's say you do that every summer. Kick back, relax. 10 years from now, how much better are you? I think we always get better with experience. So
I'm not sure no matter what. I'm always going to feel like a sports athlete. They might have had the best career they've ever had in 1 year. They're always going to tell you, I can do better.
I scored 40. I could have scored 41. I missed a free throw.
Yeah. Well, there's always something that I feel like I can do. And it sounds like a negative, but I wouldn't look at it as a negative. I look at that, all right, this is great. My kids have a fantastic year. I'm 5 every year at the end of the year. It's great. Looking forward to coming back next year. Like, okay, how can I improve it? How can I make that better? So I do.
Okay, so put that down and then try to figure out, how do I maximize that, become more efficient, or whatever that might be. What would be the route that would make me better 5 years from now? And then I'll throw the third one in, and that becomes a long-term vision. What do you want to be? I know as a young man, I know exactly what I want, exactly what I was targeting. I wanted to become a varsity basketball coach, start out as a JV coach, I want to be a varsity basketball coach in one of the high schools, and long-term, maybe a college coach at one of our concords. That was my goal. And I was unabashed about that. That's what I wanted to become. Because I had some people that I played for, people that I kind of idolized in college. And I want to be like that person. I want that. That's what I want. Now, again, that was a target for me early on. So if you can, look 10 years down the road. See what you're gonna do. Now, these are all professional right now. Professionally, why you do what you do. I shared the gospel sets up. All right. Got to professionally, how do you want to become better? Is you got to create a mini plan. And then career-wise, these are all professional goals. These are personal right now. They kind of combined a little bit. But I didn't have in my goals, I didn't put year 2, I want to have a family with 4 kids. I mean, I knew family was in it, but you say personal, I knew that was in there. I was married already as I started teaching. So we wanted to have a family. We didn't know if God was going to bless us with a family or not, but that was part of our plan as a married couple. We wanted to have X number of kids. I think we had targeted 3. But after the 3rd one, we're putting our stuff away. We just moved to Wisconsin. We moved. We said, we get rid of the crib. We get rid of this. We get rid of this. My wife said, sure, we're in that place financially. We've been, I think, sure, let's go. We ended up having our 4th child. So my 4th child was like, yeah, that was a mistake, wasn't it? We're not a mistake. No kid's a mistake to begin with, but no, you weren't. We actually thought about it and said, yes. I was hoping to be a boy, but that's beside the point. So anyway, so before we get to personal, because I want you to do the same thing with your personal life too. You know, that's on a little bit different plane, and like those things should collide kind of correctly, because you shouldn't have personal goals that are so far removed from your professional goals that they can never meet. Like having children with us was fine. See, my wife didn't work, and she wasn't going to work. That was our plan. I don't know if you can do that anymore these days. I have 2 children, and it doesn't work for them. They have to work, and they have children. They had originally set out that we were never going to put our kid in daycare. What happened to that? Well, life and times have changed. So that's all fine, well and good. So I'm asking you to do some things that really need to take some thought and time and preparation. This is what I want to do. But I also want you to know that these things change over time. Things change over time. Part of my getting to the college level and coaching at college meant I would have to get a doctorate. And typically, it's get a doctorate in your field. I had gotten a master's degree in English after 2 years. And then I was starting to pursue college jobs. I probably went to more college basketball clinics than anybody I know. And I was getting close to college coaches and all these kind of things. And there was part of me that started like, I don't know. I'm not sure that's what I want to do. I remember we were playing a kid one night from another team, and these college coaches were coming in town. A couple of them I knew. From Concordia, and they were like, it was like Southern Illinois University or something. They were scouting a kid that we were playing. I was all excited, talking to him. I said, what do you do? I want to be you. I want to be that assistant coach at a major college. That would be cool. And he told me what they do. So after tonight, we'll drive to so-and-so, another place to watch another kid. Well, what do you do? Well, we'll be on the bus, and we'll be looking at tape. We'll be breaking down the school. The next school we'll play. We play that for 3-4 hours. And he's talking about almost a 24/7 kind of thing about basketball. I remember going home and telling my wife, that doesn't sound real appealing. And I like to teach English. I value my knowledge in the classroom and stuff like that. I'm not sure I can put my heart and soul into it for that much. And so I started to doubt some of I'm going to be a college coach. I'm not sure if I want to put everything into it for that. And then as I interviewed, got a couple interviews, Concordia Austin, Concordia Irvine. I did not get those positions. And I got real frustrated. My dad was even college president at Concordia Seward at the time, and they hired a coach. I'm like, damn, I didn't know you guys were looking. I'm a successful coach at a Lutheran high school. I've kind of gone through the system. I don't even get a look. What's going on? Waiting on the doctor. Man, I teach 6 classes a day. I coach 2 sports. Where am I going to get it done? How am I ever going to be a coach at Concordia? Well, I said, this is unfair. This is wrong. So I'm like, okay, whatever. That's the system. My goals didn't change. I still have been on target to get a doctorate, but now we had a couple kids. Now the kids and the family become an important part of your vision for the future. So I, well, I guess I'll get a doctorate and just become like a high school principal or superintendent or something like that. I want to stay in the system, but my vision changed. So no longer was basketball part of my vision. It was now family and career in a different segment. So I want you to know that you may write this down today, you're not stuck with it. You change as you go and you say, okay, time to change my life. This happened. Now what did I do? So, but always keeping something in front of you that you're striving for that I think is got to please you. And it's funny how those kind of things work because I did end up getting a doctorate, but in education, not in English. Didn't really have a plan to go to college anymore. I wanted to be like I was an assistant principal at high school. And see, I had gone to our powers that be, and I said, hey, I'm in this doctoral program. I'm almost done. I got about 6 months left. And I went to our superintendent. I was just teaching English and coaching, just teaching and just coaching. And I said, I love what I do here. But I said, I put a lot of time and effort into this doctorate. And I said, I kind of probably would like to try a leadership position. So I said, I'm not threatening. I don't want to leave our system. We had 4 Lutheran high schools at the time in Detroit. I said, I just like to see if I can do this. He looked at me and he said, Gary, no one's ever come to me with this kind of request before. I said, I'm just letting you know, 6 months from now when I get this, I'm hoping there's something out there, for me. And then within that year, they came to me and asked me to be an assistant principal at one of our high schools. Okay, that was neat. But part of it was my being assertive, and part of it, obviously more of it, was God's plan for me. And did that for a number of years. But then Concordia, Wisconsin came calling and wanted me to think about being a professor of education, that type of thing. Okay, that was not anywhere on my playing field, any of my vision, none of my vision. But we had 3 kids at the time. I was working at Lutheran High School, Detroit, Lutheran East, probably a good 12, 13 hours a day. And I'm going to tell you, loving every second. Loving every second of it. Greatest ministry I ever was involved with. Kids that needed me, I needed them, all that kind of stuff. My wife would tell me still today, that was the best 3 years ago. But I've never. So told the kids, when I left last chapel, I said, guys, I love you and I love this place. So I said, there's 3 kids that need to love them all. And college will allow me to work about 20-hour weeks instead of 80-hour weeks, which is true. In case you ever get that opportunity. And so I did that. Now, when I get there, assistant basketball coach left, and so I asked the guy, hey, could I assist? I've coached forever. Oh, sure, that'd be great. He goes down with a heart attack in the first 6 months. God says, carry your coach. So isn't it funny how I had a vision for myself, said, you know what, God has a different vision for me. I'll go this way. I'll do this and do something else, try to support my family in this way. And a couple years later, he comes to me and says, here, it's my time, not your time. Isn't that fun? And it's kind of a neat story. So, of course, I did it. I didn't have to. I could have said no, but I thought, you know what? This is too easy to see God's plan. But I think the important thing is to keep goals for yourself and for your career in front of you, and challenges for you and yourself. Otherwise, we just kind of, like you mentioned before, Sean, we got to spin our wheels a little bit. Spin our wheels a little bit. What am I doing? Why am I here? And I want you to have purpose in that. So 3 areas that I talk about: personal, ministry, mission. Professional development mission for yourself, which needs to be upgraded all the time. And third one would be then a vision for your career. And again, it's good to have these personal ones on the side as well. So it's good. How you're like, some of you, I don't know, if you have children, no. If you're married, no. But it may be a goal. And there's nothing wrong with saying that's a goal. It may not be a goal. I'll be happy, I'll be bad, it's fine. But it may be, I want to have a family. And that family is going to take time and take something out of what we're doing. And you got to plan for that as well. So these are the kind of things that I go over with my teachers every year. What's the plan? I do mini plans. What's the plan for the summer? How are you going to become a better teacher for me for next year? And like Royce was saying, I want there to be some kind of plan. I'm not just going to take 2 months off and sleep. I'm going to and I'm working on curriculum. I'm working on this. I'm working on it. Some of our people are in grad school. I do push grad school because I think it's a way to challenge oneself. But it's got to make sense. I don't want to get people more in debt or bankrupt people, anything like that. But somehow our schools have to, and our districts have to support our people to get better. We can do the best we can do. But whatever it might be, have that plan to challenge yourself and come to grips with what your goal might be 10 years. Because I can tell you, when you start interviewing for positions, leadership positions, they always ask that question. What's your goal plan? And I get tired of answering that, I will tell you that. Pretty soon, about halfway through my career, when people say, well, what's the next job for you, Kerry? What 5 years from now, what do you want to be doing? And I would just answer, and this is the truth, and this is, I believe this, I said, that's not my plan, Scott. I've been doing this too long. God has the next job for me in mind, not me. I'm not seeking. I think there was a time I was seeking. My father taught me this too. He said, Kerry, every job I ever wanted, every job I ever tried to get as a leader. My dad was president of 3 places, and a leader in Senate. He was chairman of the board for IRA, a lot of big positions. He said, every job I really want. Really? Yeah, I really want to be president of Concordia St. Paul. I really thought I was in the finalists. I really wanted that. I never thought about being president of St. John's College. I never thought about being board for higher education. These kind of things fell to me. And he said it just reinforces the fact that about the call, that it's really God's plan. That's part. But for us to be prepared for the door to be open, that's what I think is the key. This is what I try to teach my students as well as my teachers. Make sure that when opportunity presents itself, right, versus, oh, you're perfect. You'd be perfect for us. We need to lead our early childhood program. We need to lead our early childhood program. Now, you have a master's degree, right? That's one thing we need to require. And you see, John, we've been doing all things. But again, I think if we target some goals in life, some career aspirations, it doesn't mean, again, that balancing our plan with God's plan, it doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, but get yourself in position to be able to say yes, be able to run through that door, versus being standing there going, oh, yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. That's what I've learned in my career, is that I was happy that there were people around me saying, yeah, go ahead, don't hold yourself back, go for those kind of things. And challenging yourself personally. And that's what a lot of my mentors did in the programs I was in. Made us write these things down. And sometimes they felt stupid. I'm like, what a great class. I'm writing my personal goals. I don't care. Because it's nice to put them out there and say, yeah, I am someone who wants to achieve, wants to be better than I am today. And I think it's a Christ-centered thing. I think it's a godly thing. Because terrible of talents. Terrible of talents all about. Got various talents was cast out in the darkness. I gave you talent, you up with it. It's harsh. But that guy's invested, got better, come back, thank you, that kind of thing. So, questions or comments? That's what I want you to be thinking about, is even though you're so early in your career, that all this may just be a blur, like, wow. Because Ruth, I know I talk to Ruth now and then, because we get to Calvary and see Jeff City, and wonderful young teacher, and getting raves from people at that school, which is good for you. But 10 years from now, Ruth, so keep it. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to be in that classroom. 20 years from now, I want to be in that same classroom, but with maybe teaching more AP stuff or dual credit or whatever it might be. Boy, that's what I'm gearing up for. Because, by the way, that's something in my school. Dual credit is kind of a big trend now, more so than AP classes. The only people that can teach dual credit are those that have a degree in their subject matter. So I've got master's degrees with Masters of Education. Like, it doesn't help me. But I got to have a master's in math to teach dual credit. I've got a master's MBA to teach econ. I've got the language person, she can do it. But until you get there, so that's why my encouragement for secondary people, anyways, you become a more valuable commodity. Now that sounds very secular, does it not? It sounds very secular.
But I'm thinking, okay, Ruth, for you, I don't know what your plans are, if you plan on getting a master's or not. But if you would identify as you gold into a lot of schools, and that will create opportunity for you. Not necessarily means you have to move ever. It can be a Calvary your whole career, but it could open up some doors. It could open up a college for you. Yes.
So then, as a like an administrator, what would you recommend? Like I am
Yep.
but I currently teach middle school. So what would you recommend, like potentially getting my master's, depending on where my husband and I would go to college?
Right. Good question. I would talk to people in your field, elementary, and maybe people that have gone through what you're going to go through, and that is the same thing in placement. Masters tend to move a little bit. Get in some area that is, looking at this way, do you want to have family? You have family now? So you're probably part of your plan. Okay. Something that you could utilize maybe on a part-time basis. Reading. Education specialty kind of thing. I'm telling you, special ed in our Lutheran schools is huge. We are blessed to have a special, she's not Lutheran, but her kids go to our school, or went to our school. She has a certification in Missouri for special ed and special ed certification, and we employ her part-time. But we put it on our web. We can deal with special ed, we can deal with IEPs, we have the specialists in our building. And it's true, it's real, it's not fake. But typically, our Lutheran schools, I think Mequon might have it now, maybe a couple of them do, but we don't have that certification. So that was, what do you do? We tend to say, well, we can kind of love the kid, nurture the kid, we can't officially stamp it. And now, so something like that, reading is always a good one. A master's degree in education. Okay, Al, I'm saying it, turn the mic off, but it's probably only good for, well, it certifies one to become principal. That's your goal, to be a principal. But really, just to get the pay raise. And it's probably the easiest one to go through, too. Fair?
By far, I mean, you have to figure out what you really love. What is it
Yeah.
do? I would go down the same path. I would recommend reading and or special education. Kind of break your ticket and you can support any Lutheran school out there. Part-time, you can continue, going back full-time and be a grade level teacher in elementary. And that.
Yeah, who doesn't want to hire a grade school teacher that's a reading specialist? I mean, even for a self-contained classroom, well, what's her strength? She's reading. Oh, gosh, that's what we need more. Kids reading, and you can specialize at Calvary. I go by and what's she doing? Oh, she's the reading specialist. We bring in and get little groups of kids reading with her. Some kids struggling. Let's go to Chicago, actually, pretty Chicago elementary. Good. And I think the person that's what we talked to, but he said, I think that might maybe specialize in special. Good. Yeah. Perfect.
Not there yet, but he's got.
And now we just got, here's the problem with our schools, that's a bigger situation. We got to get Lutheran schools that will not take the risk, but invest in those people versus maybe he's going to get a better deal because of that at, in the public school, maybe because they have more budget for that kind of stuff.
We didn't have a part-time, we had a full-time special ed teacher, full-blown program. We actually charged tuition for that program going forward. But it's, I mean, people are going to get a master's in education administration. You got to be careful of that too, because I've talked to a lot of people recently about their master's in curriculum instruction. They have a master's in general education, which doesn't get you anywhere in terms of being a principal either. In fact, you can't be certified. So I have several people asking me, how can I be certified as a principal in the state of Missouri with a master's degree in curriculum instruction and education? Yeah,
You're going to have to take extra classes, which is the last thing you want to hear once you put in, invested in yourself, your master's degree in C&I, and then here's the funny thing, and Alan and I laugh about this. I have a doctorate in education. I have a master's in English literature. So I thought, oh gosh, the only doctorate I can get is in English. I go into no, you got a master's degree. You get into a doctoral program, like, oh, okay, that's good. And so, but now I don't have a master's degree in education administration. I don't have a principal certification in Missouri. I don't have a superintendent certification in Missouri or Wisconsin. I always laughed at that. In Wisconsin, they said, well, you lack this one class. You lack this one class, so you can get superintendent certification. What's the one class? Something about educational change or something like that. I said, I've taught that for 5 years for university and grad school. Can I go back and put my audit grade on there? Because I taught it. Well, we're gonna laugh. We'll come in, we'll talk about it. And here in Missouri, I don't know if I could get the certification or not, but I know this, I'm now the mentor for teachers who are going for their certification. I go, Al, I don't have the certification. Maybe that's not a good idea. Oh no, you have a doctorate in education, that's all true. Okay, well you will. But that's true. Anyway, so it's, again, what I did was maybe fortunate. You don't know everything you do, but I want to get the doctorate. So once I got the doctorate, doors are open. So I got a lot more opportunities. Now, and I'm not any smarter than you. Not any smarter than you. A lot of people think that. And that's what makes you think. That's why I keep going. Finish, man. Finish. We call it ABD, all dissertation. You got for all classes, writing dissertation. I hate to say this, but there's a lot more ABDs out there than there are left. It's a tough finishing thing. But anyway, that's not. Boy, and I'd say for you to ascend to the highest, do it. If you have opportunity to do it, because it'll put you in a classification that again will serve the church as well as yourself. That's the important thing. All right, so that's thank you for that question. That's a good question. And I don't know exactly. You got to know you. What do you want to do? I did like English. That's what I liked. I'm like, great. Those classes, every class I took when I was teaching, I was like, man, this is gonna help. Man, this is helpful. Man, this is helpful. Gave me more confidence in the classroom. Education, I did educational leadership. And so it helped me going through as much as with my peers, looking left and right with all the public schools. I don't think I know a Lutheran person in my program. And I'm like, you're a superintendent? You're a principal? Shoot. I was just a teacher and a coach at the time. I was nothing. And I'm like, and I told them no. For my program, I interviewed for my program, Western Michigan University. And they accepted me and said, okay, for the next 2.5 years, you have to miss every Tuesday and Thursday night will be owned by us because that's when the classes are. And I came back and I said, no thanks. I'm still coaching. I'm not done with that yet. In my heart, I knew it. I'm not ready to give that up yet. And I said, wow, no one ever turns us down. I'm like, sorry, I'm just not done. Education chair called me from Western Michigan, Terry, the real high marks, we want you in the program. I said, but I can't make Tuesdays. Those are game nights. We'll work it out. What? Who am I? I want you in the program. I'll make sure you get a class over in your area. In Kalamazoo, I was living in Detroit. We'll have one in the summer that you're gonna. You do that for me? Yeah. That's what we do in education. Taught me a lot. It taught me a lot because I think I was selfish at the time. I didn't think I was about other people as much as I became. It taught me that that's how we're treating people. That's how we're supposed to treat people. My advisor at Western told me, you can call me anytime between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Or not between 2 a.m. and 6 any other time between those hours. And I'll have an answer for you within 24 hours. He wasn't Lutheran. He wasn't Christian. He wasn't one of us. But he became my mentor. He became somebody. The 3 most influential people in my life, he's one. Because he taught me how to treat people. He wasn't Christian. See what I mean? I'm thinking, I've met a lot of Lutheran people who don't treat me that good. This guy taught me we are to be there for those that we serve. And so, hey, he taught me to double down and say, yeah, I'm there for you. Of course, not always a good thing, but my wife would tell me that I wish I had played basketball. I wish I'd have been one of your students. I couldn't do anything. Yeah, maybe you could enroll in one of my classes. I don't know. No, but there's, and I take pride in that statement. I'm like, she sees that I care about my kids and I care about those that God put in front of me to serve. And so we should, and then also the family, you don't have that family, but follow. Anyway, other questions, comments? That was just it for me. I mean, I think you guys are so young and so in the early phases of what you're doing. And we want you to have careers in this business.
And Chris, Alex, I think Al would say it. I think Royce, you can definitely feel it when you talk. I'm very proud of Royce, what he did. I'm proud that he says I still intimidate him. But that's good to know, you know. As a guy I'll call up and say, Royce, here's what I need. That's funny. But, you know, we would all say that our careers have been really blessed and never made that much money. And so I may make more money now than I ever did. By the way, I wrote that down. Financial advisor at Concordia University, 1992. Comes into my office, want to have a meeting with me. He says, Gary, I said, okay, finally I consented to this meeting. And he says, okay, what are your financial goals for the next year? Financial goals for the next year. Okay, I got it. I'm sorry. All right, he gets his note. Okay, what are they? I want to make more money next year than I made a year. That's my goal every year, is to make more money than I made. They don't make a lot of money. That's not financial. It is for me. What kind of month to month here? What kind of paycheck to paycheck? I've got a wife who works. Not much came of that meeting. He kind of said, "This is not a guy I can make too much money off." But but God is good and always provided for us. That's why I get real frustrated when I hear my teachers and I don't let my teachers talk about the money they don't make. That's not right. We're blessed. You heard that blessing we have. My gosh, my pension. I looked at it a couple years ago. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I didn't do anything for that. Well, I did. It worked. I didn't put. I wish I had put more money aside. You know, along the way, but I just didn't have it to do. But somebody did. God is going to take care of us in retirement. That's great. So, but again, I'm not somebody who needs a lot of money. Anyway, so it's a tremendous career in front of you, but just make the most of it, I guess, is what we're trying to say, and plan, scheme, whatever it is, to hit your needs, your family's needs, your own personal. But I think, again, personal, professional, have those things, goals that you set. Make a change. It's okay. You change. You can halfway through something. You got to slow down. A good friend of mine did a doctor program, took another job, and I said, you're probably going to slow down now. You're probably going to need to take a year to make sure your job performance, the doctor can wait. He'll still be out there, but you can slow down just a little bit. And he also got a young family too. And I'll tell him, come on, you don't miss the joys of life because you're so chasing a career. That's some those are the mistakes that some people make, and we all make at some point in time. All right, anything else? That's it. I'm done. I'm in. So, so Jonah and Aaron, you will be watching this at some point in time. And here's what I want you will tell me the following. What message did I give you? I gave you this message. Aaron, get your master's in history. Jonah, get your master's in English. Now we'll see if they watch. Those that haven't met Jonah and Aaron, they were here last time. We've had so many snow days and so much time off. I just didn't get it. And Aaron coaches baseball. All right. Excellent. Okay. Now, did you grow up wanting to be an administrator?
So, you talk about your vision and how things change and all that good stuff. So my plan was, I was actually looking to be in politics. So I went to, I was at the University of Nebraska getting a master's degree in political science. Working for I had a year-long internship with the Nebraska State Senator, who was the chair of the Judiciary Committee at that time. I had a couple of offers to do different things and attended the wedding of one of my college roommates, whose brother was the social studies department chair in Baltimore at Lutheran High School. And they had a teacher that left in July. Social studies teacher left to be a principal at one of the area Baltimore elementary schools where he graduated. So they were asking, well, what do you think about going out to Baltimore for a year, put your master's on hold for a little bit, all that good stuff? Well, how can I resist going to Baltimore? That's an hour outside of DC. history person, so that was my major along with poli-sci, and I thought, well, that'd be fun to go have a little fun for a year. And then go back, finish up my master's degree, figure things out. And then 23 years later, I was still out there. So my vision changed throughout time. And while I was out there, I never did finish my master's in poli-sci. I did get to do some fun stuff in politics. I worked on a couple campaigns, did a Lutheran fellowship at the Lutheran Institute, Washington, D.C. on LCMS members of Congress. So I was going back and forth for a whole summer doing that and developing lesson plans for Lutheran school teachers throughout the country. Did some other fun, cool things in a bunch of different areas. Then got my master's in education administration, went through the Association of Lutheran Secondary Schools SLED program. Kind of started on that path. And then at that point in time, I thought, well, maybe I'll be an administrator one day. I was an administrator one day out in Baltimore. After teaching for 8 years, I became an upper school principal out there. Principal at the same school I taught at for those 8 years. And then our head of school departed in December 1 year, and I filled out the rest of the term and became the head of school at the school. I started teaching at the school I was upper school principal at, and then head of school at. So that was my journey, and I had to continually rewrite my vision and what I was doing because I did not anticipate that would be the case. But I've done a bunch of other things. So
Yeah, my dad was a lifelong administrator, pastor, but never pastored from church or administrator in high school or university. And never, ever wanted to do it for going to be some one day.
although the things I always like about education is every year is a new start. No other profession gets that, where every year is a do-over. And it's constant change, constant variety, constant action in so many ways. And the one thing I really loved about the classroom was that you were constantly immersed in the discipline that you love. You know, you're teaching what you truly love to learn. Every year teaching high school, I was only a high school teacher, but every year I was able to learn the subject that I held so dearly and that I was teaching constantly. So for me, I was being paid to learn. Which, how much better do you get than that? I still continued to teach. When I was head of school, I still taught an online course here and there. When I was principal, I would teach a course, sometimes live course, sometimes online. But I still kept my hand in things. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've taught 41 years. We were not taught, and I don't want no longer coach. But that, I thought I would miss that more than anything. But teaching, I love the classroom. I love teaching. I just love teaching. Teaching education, you know, this stuff is great. Yeah, okay, but what's the worst class you get in college? Education class, especially secondary people would say that. Oh man, science school, English school. I don't know, something doesn't know about bad teacher. I remember that. Boy, trust me, I remember that. I was teaching at Concordia. I was like, gosh, I don't know, someday these people go back and say that. It's not, because it's such a common sense. So much is common sense. Yeah. Relationships, rather than it's on the telephone. You better know the subject first, okay? But then, you know, that old saying, you're what you know. So anyway, you guys got a great career in front of you. I hope you stick with it. That's our goal. Private debt, you know, we won't know. We won't know if they stick.
Well, no, yeah.
Ruth, 25 years from now, let's see what I'm going back on somewhere. You're like,
be out on the golf
Still
course.
nice.
Sunflowers.
It's not fair to get too many really.
But no, it's, that is why we do this stuff. You know, our goal is multifaceted. A lot of it is to support all of you in what you're doing. We don't think we've really done that in the past, so we're trying to figure out how can we be better. But it's also to keep you in the profession. Say, look, you know, there are a lot of good things here. You experience most of them, but some of them are unknowns that we haven't done a good job as schools or leaders to say, here are all these opportunities out there, and here's how benefits stack up, or retirement.
You have an administrative inkling in your body that maybe someday you want to school, you're the teachers and stuff, you get to the price, have a thick skin.
A great sense of humor. Too.
Coaching helped me get a place. You play away, train on